Right now at 6, storms cause extensive damage in and around St. Louis. Trees down, homes, buildings collapsed. And we have 4 confirmed deaths in St. Louis. St. Louis Mayor Kara Spencer is asking people to stay off their cell phones. And we also have an update. St. Louis Children's Hospital Emergency Department, they have now received 10 patients. 1 is in critical condition, and the majority of patients are in fair condition. They are expected to be discharged today. Families are arriving and reuniting with their children. No other BJC Healthcare hospital has received patients at this time, but are prepared if needed. Well, right now at 6, we want to check in with Robert Townsend. He is in O'Fallon Park at the rec complex. What's the situation there, Robert?
Hey, Kelly, we've been driving around North St. Louis for hours now. We drove up on this really horrible scene here. Look at all these trees down here. I mean, this entire park is just covered with trees that have been snapped in half, all due to that big storm that blew through here just after 2:30 this afternoon. Again, this is the official O'Fallon Park Recreational Complex. It's located off West Florissant and Pope in North St. Louis. Look at this big tree just uprooted. And that's the scene out here, tree after tree after tree just on the ground. And the far back there too, to the left there, Jimmy, you can see that light pole, that light post that's on the parking lot there. Again, just a lot of trees. This is a popular park for lots of folks here in North St. Louis. Wendell McIntyre, you are the security guy here at the YMCA. You were driving here at the height of that storm. How scary was all that?
Listen, just the sound was enough to make you stop and take cover. You know, but you couldn't see nothing. It was all white. You had debris flying both ways. Matter of fact, the wind was going that way. Then a few seconds later, it started coming back the other way.
You told me your car was shaking?
Man, my car felt like it was getting ready to turn over.
And behind you is the YMCA. We can see there's damage to the roof. Tell me about it. How bad is it?
Well, now maintenance is here now. You know, they're going up on top to look at the damage. But inside, it was very minimum. No,
there were people inside.
It was about 15 to 20 people plus the management.
All of whom took cover?
Yes, they had to immediately take cover. They took cover, and then at the same time, everybody got out safe.
What do you think about all this damage? Look at this park.
Oh man, it didn't look like it looked yesterday, you know. And there's a friend of mine right there. You know, he's going to be responsible for all of this right here.
I mean, we're seeing countless trees just on the ground.
Oh man, it was a lot. You know, I don't want to call it a tornado, but I don't know the difference. You know, from the way it sounded, the way my car was moving. You see all these trees down, the building is damaged. You know, and like I say, they're evaluating things right now. I don't know if there are any broken windows or anything like that.
But the good thing is that everybody was okay.
Yeah, we cleared everybody out, made sure everybody was okay. You know, we had parents out here because the school bus brings the kids here to drop them off, but it couldn't do that. Yeah. So the parents still came here, and they was parked out here waiting to receive their kids.
Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts on all of this. And again, obviously the YMCA is now closed for the night. The wind is blowing through right now. We're going to continue to drive around this North City area and see what else we're seeing all affected by this storm. Kelly, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Robert. This is what we have been seeing all throughout the city in the Central West End, Clayton, power outages. We're having gas leaks, and then we are having a man who is trapped in his own home in North St. Louis. Mark Maxwell has been giving us updates to this situation. Basically, we are all on the edge of our seats wanting to know how he is doing, Mark.
Yeah, Kelly, we're still not sure of his actual condition. We do know that he's in verbal contact with these firefighters and emergency responders and has been throughout. In fact, the firefighters are taking verbal cues from him as they start to move things from one part of the building. He'll say, "That's putting pressure on my body. I'll move out of the way." We just heard some of the firefighters call for one of their bigger saws. They've been moving some of this brick by brick, board by board, door by door. This is dangerous work. We saw one firefighter a moment ago while you were talking to Robert on the edge of this, what used to be this home, take a bit of a tumble. This is, as you can imagine, it's not exactly stable footing. So these firefighters are trying to make their way up there, and I believe after trying to burrow through and tunnel through the basement to reach him, they've now completely changed their strategy. There's a ladder above, in case they can use that as some kind of leverage to help pull some of the weight off. And there are neighbors and family and volunteers gathering around the perimeter watching and praying, hoping that 45-year-old Garfield makes his way out. We know that he's been down there for what I believe is now approaching 2 hours. As soon as the severe weather knocked this house down on top of him, he was taking shelter inside the pantry of the kitchen. And we heard firefighters a moment ago say all the weight, everything is on top of him. That's why they've started to just try and just take that long, tedious job of pulling the weight off of him, hoping they can eventually get through and get to him safely. That's been the biggest concern. Every time they move some of this debris, they run the risk of other debris falling in, and that could create a very dangerous or complicated scenario. I'm going to step out of the way here and see what exactly we're working with at this point. But you can hear those other sirens perhaps in the background. What you're seeing now is the second, even third wave of firefighters. There's been a number of different crews coming through here offering support and relief to the folks who are doing some of the early digging and the early work to remove a lot of this debris. But this is really just manual labor. If you watch this, it's like the worst demolition scene you've ever seen. You can see one firefighter at the top trying to hold up that beam to keep it from falling on his colleagues while they pull other stuff out. You've seen them toss entire filing cabinets or mattresses or big pieces of furniture down to the side of the wall to they're down into this house. And look, this could take, if this was just a regular construction scene, even with big heavy equipment, if you were being, if you weren't being careful with a person trapped underneath, it would still take you a long time. And they're trying to go through painstaking care to make sure that they don't make any of this worse. So that's what's taking this so long. But again, all indications so far have been that Garfield is talking to them, and I'm sure if they are able to pull him out, Kelly, that they're going to want to get him some help and some medical attention just to check on him. He's been in a pretty dangerous situation here for the last 2 hours or so. But again, we're trying to bring you updates. We know, if you were watching earlier, that there was a house just down the street where the upper bedroom collapsed in, almost hit a man. He had just thought to put a hard hat on. He feels that and his positioning inside the home was the thing that helped his narrow survival there. His cousin, who was in the basement, also survived. A lot of close calls and a lot of disaster and damage in North City right now. So we're going to keep watching and hoping that things turn out for the better here. You can hear that saw in the background. They're trying to break through some of this debris and pull things out. A pretty narrow and difficult job ahead of us here in North City. But for now, I'll throw it back to you, Kelly.
And it just gives us a better appreciation for our first responders, firefighters. They attend to fires every day, but it's not every day that someone is trapped, and they have to kind of figure out what they need to do, while Garfield, the man who is trapped, is in a way kind of directing them on what to do.
Yeah, they're engineering their way out of a disaster, and this is physical labor. Some of these are young, big, strong men, and they're tired. They've been working and tugging and pulling at brick and wood for a long time. A couple of them have come off saying they could use some water. In fact, I see that looks like there's been some water brought to some of these folks here on the end. And now we're seeing, we're not going to show any of this, I believe. We do have a stretcher being brought over here. That could be a good sign. Perhaps they're being to have the extraction, the removal here. There's a new crew coming. If they do pull him out, of course, we're not going to show anything that would be inappropriate or insensitive here. But we just want to prepare you in the newsroom and the viewers at home for what we might see in the moments ahead. We don't know. We just see that there is an effort to pull this. I'm listening to some of the chatter here between the firefighters. They're not quite ready, but they are pulling some of this debris out, and they're bringing a stretcher over nearby. So, and now it looks like one of the firefighters is calling to see if that stretcher is ready. So Kelly, you guys and the producers there can give us some feedback. I'll try to give you the best feedback I can on what we're seeing here, but it looks like they might be nearing an attempt, the first attempt to extract him. We can't see up above. They do have a ladder that's stretched out over above the house here, what used to be this house. There are no firefighters on that ladder, but they have a stretcher here along the side. And after 4 or 5 unsuccessful attempts
Yeah, I would
to
think,
burrow
Mark,
and tunnel their way through under.
I don't
Go
know if you
ahead.
can hear me. I was just saying, due to the sensitive nature, and we know that he is, he's been able to communicate with them, but we also want to be sensitive to Garfield, his family, and it seems like they could possibly be, getting a little closer to bringing him out, but we also want to be sensitive to that.
Yeah, a lot of people. We're seeing folks on social media. We're seeing people in the neighborhood come up for this guy. People are offering prayers, best wishes, and anything they can do to help. We've seen that volunteer effort. We've seen some police officers and firefighters coming in this team effort, and really just the community in North City coming to try and help this guy. So it's been, in some ways, while tragic, also inspiring to see all the effort, all the different people that it takes to look out for their neighbor, and that's part of what we're witnessing here.
Yeah.
But again, it does look like they're trying to prepare and make a second exit path. We thought perhaps they were going to try to do that for minutes to an hour ago, but I still hear some sawing with a big electric saw, so they're still trying to clear some of the path there, Kelly.
Yeah, the amount of first responders has definitely grown, and they are kind of MacGyvering their way and trying to get him out. Mark, we're going to check in with you as soon as we need to, okay? But
All right, sounds
first,
good.
we want to look at some video that Adam Briggs sent us from downtown St. Louis. It shows a fast-moving storm and some interesting clouds. So, Scott, what would you make of those clouds?
Well, I mean, you can see it looks like there might be some rotation in there and kind of like some kind of funnel, but that's way out ahead of it versus, back in the storm itself. So I don't